Hi, everybody. Hi, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to today's event, Intuit for Education's introduction to Intuit for Education. And my name is Jessica Powell. I am a lead learning guide here at Pride Technology. We're a learning management partner with Intuit for Education. And I'm extremely excited to join you tonight because this is really the first webinar we've done in the new year, of course. And then we haven't done one of these intro webinars for several months. So there's probably quite a few of you who've never heard of the Intuit for Education and or seen the platform. And so I'd love to get you guys started tonight. If you would locate for me in the chat, so the chat's going to be in your toolbar at the bottom of the Zoom webinar. Go ahead and locate that. And if you will, go ahead and put in the chat where you are right now, where you're tuning in from. And you might need to switch the to section to everyone. So it starts off with to panelists and host, and you can switch it to everyone. Awesome. Okay, I've got a lot of people from a lot of different places. I already saw Conroe, Texas, which is insane because that's where I am. I'm located in the greater Houston area in Conroe, Texas. So hello, fellow Conroenian. I think that's what we're called. I see so many people from so many places. It's amazing. What a great group. Okay, well, guys, thank you again for joining us this evening. This was the Pacific time zone friendly time slot, so hopefully, we've got plenty of folks. I see we have people from coast to coast, which is amazing. Those of you in the East Coast, thanks for joining so late. Would you please also let me know in the chat how you heard about the webinar? Like, what information made you join or register for this event tonight? Just want to get some. Okay, so there was a direct email to everyone. Okay, cool. Sounds good. Okay. One more thing in the chat. So I'm just going to ask you to do one more thing. Um, I'd love to know, based on what you know about Intuit for Education, what you know about the Intuit for Education platform. If you know nothing, that's fine. You can say nothing. If you feel like you've been using it a while, just let me know. I've been using it. Very little, nothing, not much. Okay. Cool. Well, if you can't tell, we're going to be using the chat quite a bit tonight. The webinar format that we're using allows me to lead the webinar without having any disruptions, audio disruptions or video disruptions. And so, we know I know most people would love to be able just to like turn on their mic and ask a good question, but unfortunately in this day and age, it's just really can be distracting to have a bunch of people from a bunch of different places on the webinar with their mics on. So we had those turned off, and if you guys will use the chat, I'll be monitoring that throughout the webinar just to make sure I can answer the questions that come through. It looks like there's been some questions about, or at least been some comments made about different things you've tried using through the Intuit platform. So I want to be real clear today about what we're really going to be looking at. So we're going to take kind of a deeper dive into what Intuit for Education is, because it is an amazing platform, right? We take all the industry experts coming in together and weighing in to provide world-class learning resources designed to elevate financial literacy in every school everywhere. We're going to take a little time tonight to navigate the platform and create our accounts, or at least you guys will be able to look and see how you can create your accounts so that you can explore those resources with me. And then once we've navigated through that curriculum, we'll round out today with some actionable steps that you can take to ensure that you're getting all the things you need, including credit for attending tonight, if that's something that you need. So we'll look at the intro to the platform, we'll navigate through that curriculum, we'll look at creating our account, and then we'll have next steps. All right, before we get going too much further, if you have any like just burning questions you really need to know, I'd love for you to put those in the chat. Also, I already saw some folks utilizing it, but there is in the same little toolbar at the bottom, like an emoji or a thumbs up button. So feel free to use that to give me feedback, to let me know if you're liking things or if you need me to stop and ask a question. All right. Okay. So Intuit for Education, what is it and why do you need to know about it? So Intuit for Education is a free and flexible financial literacy program that uses real-world tools to teach personal finance and build financial confidence. So everybody knows Intuit. Intuit is it's an industry standard tool. It's a tool that we all, TurboTax, MailChimp, Credit Karma, all the tools that we hear about in terms of the financial world all live under the Intuit umbrella. And so Intuit for Education is backed by Intuit's 40-year history of helping people achieve financial confidence. And Intuit for Education, like I mentioned, is a free and flexible financial literacy program. So I'd really love to focus on the fact that they have been building their legacy for over 40 years because we do want our students to graduate and move through high school and beyond with a very strong and secure financial understanding of the world. And who better to teach our students than the folks at Intuit? All right. I already saw some questions about some of the nuts and bolts of things. So how about this? I'm looking at those as they come through. And since I don't have a moderator to help me keep up with those, what I'm going to do is try to come back to them as we get to that part naturally. So just keep reminding me if I don't answer your question, but I do see a lot of them come through and I'm not ignoring them. I'm just going to try to roll them in naturally. Okay. All right. So if you have taught financial literacy before, if you have not taught financial literacy before, that's okay too. I'm interested in hearing from you. What are some of the biggest challenges that you've faced in teaching financial literacy in the past? And if you've never taught it, just tell me in the chat you've never taught it. If you've taught it in the past, what are some of the challenges that you've faced in teaching financial literacy? Judy, that is a big challenge, right? If you've never taught it, like, this is a whole new world for a lot of folks. Student focus in the classroom, keeping current, finding resources that resonate with them. Yes, reluctant learners, the needed elements. Some people have never taught it. Okay. Yeah, interactive activities. That's always a really, that we all need that in every aspect of what we're doing with our students, but that's especially with things like financial literacy. They need to be able to put their hands on things. That's very important. Free resources, absolutely. Um, okay, so I've got some really advanced folks teaching things like accounting principles. Financial literacy is woven within. Okay. Any economics teachers who are teaching a unit on financial literacy and are looking for some resources there? Lack of student interest, student buy-in. Okay, Annette, you're teaching students in high school and adult learners. Wow, that's a big ask. Okay. Okay, Lisa, you got economics and personal finance together. Yeah, that happens, here and there. We've been working across the country and every state has something different going on. Some states have required financial literacy components now, and some states are still leaving that up to school districts to include. And so we're going to kind of look at how Intuit for Education is addressing those needs. Lisa, what state are you in again? North Carolina. Okay. Yep. So that's definitely a trend these days. We're noticing. I don't want to talk to you guys a little bit about those state standards and how Intuit for Education has been keeping their eye on those state standards as well. Thanks, guys, so much for participating. It makes this event so much easier as an instructor and so much better for you guys because you're going to hear and learn from one another, which is great. All right. So in the same vein, if you've done it before, or if you've just been working with kids your whole career and you know what it is, what are the challenges you anticipate this year? Is there anything specific that's this year kind of concerning to you, or you look at it as a challenge? Okay, language support. Okay. Yep, keeping those materials engaging, teaching taxes, right? It's getting up to tax season, right? In fact, my 17-year-old is in the kitchen right now, filling out her taxes. So it's an annual thing, and having her learn how to do her own taxes is extremely important. Yep. Okay. I see some great stuff here. Thanks so much, you guys. All right. Well, I see a lot of that. And I think we're going to be able to address most of it today. So if there's something I don't address or I can't address, then I'm going to take your question down and your email address and make sure somebody from the Intuit support team gets back to you. Okay, so we're going to start by navigating the curriculums, right? Because the curriculum is what you guys want. It's the stuff that's the resources you can take and start using right away. It's the stuff that you can use in class or you can use asynchronously. So Intuit provides two platforms for that. There is a guided platform and a self-paced platform. And that's just what it sounds like, right? Guided and self-paced. We're also going to look at the lesson plans and the resources that are available to you. And then again, those standards alignment that I mentioned. So we wanted to look at the two methods that are provided, right? The guided curriculum and the self-paced. So the guided curriculum, like I mentioned, is just what it sounds like. It's for you to guide the students through the curriculum. It's the guide on the side stuff. So we're looking at teacher-led lessons, whether you're in a virtual environment or a face-to-face environment. These are designed for a teacher to lead the learning. And they are designed in a way that can be customized. So they're delivered to you as Google Workspace tools. So you'd have to have a Google account to download them. I think you can download them as PDFs as well, but they're in a Google Slides and Google Docs and a Google Sheets format. So you'll be able to make copies and then you have them so you can customize them, which is really nice. We'll take a look at that, where you find them and how you do that. Also, these guided curriculums include digital content framed for group instruction. So the lessons include teacher notes, teacher resources, like just everything you would need, really. So if you've never taught financial literacy before and you have any level of anxiety about making sure you're saying the right things, you're showing the right things, or that you're preparing the right things, these guided curriculum lessons are going to be very helpful to you. Now, if you have students in an environment where you can do asynchronous work or on your own work, there is also that self-paced curriculum. And the guided curriculum and self-paced curriculum do align, although they are not an apples to apples comparison. So the lessons you find in the guided curriculum will not be exactly like the content you'll find in the self-paced curriculum. The content will be teaching the same skills and the same techniques, but it won't necessarily be apples to apples. So keep that in mind. But those self-paced lessons are student-directed learning. They're designed to be delivered to your students. They're asynchronous. They can be customized for individual learning paths, and they include a bunch of digital assets and assessment so students can work on the device on their computer. Okay. So let's go and take a look at these things. I'm going to move over to a tab and I'm going to actually log out just because I feel like I should go through the whole process from start to finish. So when you're logging into Intuit for Education, and we're not going to go through the steps together as much, you guys can follow the steps on your own, but you can create an account on the Intuit for Education page just by clicking on create an account. So by going to education.intuit.com, that's the home page. And from there, you should be able to create an account and you'll just use your school district information. If you have any issues with that, please feel free to let me know in the chat. Give me your name, your email address, and I'll have somebody reach out to you to provide that support. Okay, so you just want to make sure that you get yourself signed up. They're free accounts for yourself and your students. I'll go ahead and log in. And I've been using this a while, so mine knows my name, it knows all my stuff, and it's kind of here waiting for me. But you guys let me know in the chat if you need me to hang tight for a second while you get yourself signed up or while you log in. If you're ready to go, you can type go in the chat. Okay. Got a few goes. All right. If I get two more goes, I'm going to move forward. All right. Rejoice, you might need to have somebody from Intuit support reach out to you. So just make sure you can private message me, like switch the little chat to host and panelist and send me your information and I'll forward that along to the Intuit folks and they can help you get that sorted. Same thing for you, Becky. If you wanted to sign up, all right. And Rejoice, honestly, I might be able to hook you up with somebody who can actually maybe give more personalized support. So feel free still to give me your info, but yeah, go ahead and watch for now. And Becky, the same for you. If you'll send me your info, your email address is what I'm really going to need. All right. And this recording is available. It's going to be available on the website. I think when we get done tonight, you'll get an email thanking you for your attendance, and then the recording will be available on the website. So you'll be able to access it. All right. Okay, so like I mentioned, we want to take a look at the lessons that are available to you. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to jump right over here to courses. Courses is the first thing you see when you get to the load-in page. And so that's what we're talking about when we're looking for content and material, is we're looking at courses. So guided courses, like I mentioned, those are the teacher guide on the side. That's the teacher-led stuff. These first two right here, personal finance and entrepreneurial finance, these are the guided material, meaning the teacher's leading the learning. Next to those in the same section are the self-paced. So the guided aren't necessarily denoted as such, but the self-paced are denoted as such. So you'll see self-paced personal finance and self-paced entrepreneurial. And you'll notice that there are the same number of units in each. But remember what I said, they're not apples to apples. You're not going to see the exact same resources. You'll see the same skills taught and the same lessons presented, but you'll see some differences in some of the content. And of course, because we have students working asynchronously and students working in real time with a class, there are going to be some sorts of styles of differences in the assignment. So that's why those things are a little different. But let's just start with this personal finance course. We're going to dive right in here. The guided personal finance like courses, there are 13 units and they are designed to last an entire semester, right? So these are broken up by units and each unit has a number of lessons. And I bet you can guess where you can see the number of lessons. Right here to the right of each of these units is the number of lessons. So we see the importance of financial literacy has 4 lessons, money mindsets has 4 lessons, banking, budgeting, etc. They all have a different number of lessons. So here's where we see the lessons, here's where we see the topic. So somebody had mentioned taxes. There's a unit on taxes, and there are 8 lessons about it. Okay, so I'm just going to let's open up money mindsets. I just want to just quickly show you just the overlay of things for the guided. And so you'll see under the money mindsets unit, there are 4 lessons. In total, this unit would take 4 hours. Now, I personally don't subscribe to the time limits because I might use a piece here and a piece there. It might be something I weave into a lesson that I do today. And then, of course, as we know, students get distracted, things happen. They may take longer than 4 hours to complete 4 entire lessons. So it's kind of up to you how you decide to use them. These are just suggested time frames because, again, these are guided lessons that you're leading, okay? So if you wanted to look up, I like this one. I think it's a great one. It's the Avoiding Scams and Fraud unit or lesson under this unit. Okay. And you can see right from the start, that there's a lesson plan. There are slides that go with the lesson plan. There are activities. These activities are embedded in the lesson plan, but they're also available for you to look at here. Notice that you can view the worksheet or the answer key. And you might think, well, that sounds crazy because the kids might pull up the answer key. Not so fast. When the students go to pull up the answer key, and you too, when you go to pull up the answer key, you're going to be prompted to submit your information, and then somebody at the Intuit side of things is going to investigate to make sure you're the teacher. So it's not quite, you're not going to click this button and see the answers. You're going to click this button and be prompted to put in your email, and then you'll receive the answer key if you're designated as a teacher. And Yaying, there is an actual module for the QuickBooks. There's not a lesson on QuickBooks, so to speak, but there are modules on QuickBooks. Okay. Also, like I mentioned, there's the complimentary self-paced content down here at the bottom. It lists it right here for you. So if you needed students, or if students were absent or on extended leave and needed to do an asynchronous or a self-paced part of the unit, they could do the same lesson here, and here's the link for you. So all of this is found under the Money Mindsets kind of umbrella. It's one of the lessons inside the unit called Money Mindsets. Okay, we're going to look at some of these things together. I don't think so. I think that's actually a really unique problem. So my suggestion to you would be to probably reach out to your school district and see if there's any way they can like make a change there, or access it on a different device, and then at the same time, so probably still contact your school district technology team to let them know that y'all need these if you're using it at your school. So your learning objectives are listed here. These are all in the lesson plan, but I just wanted to point out they're available at the top, so you can take a look at those. And then your national standards, we do have the national standards listed for every lesson. But like I mentioned, I'll show you guys where the state standards can be found as well. But these national standards are in relation to some of these governing bodies like the Jumpstart Coalition to help students get financial literacy in the classroom. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and click view the lesson plan because Rejoice asked a great question. She only asked it to me, so you guys probably don't see it pop through. But these can be integrated with Canvas, but not because there's a button to easily do that, but because these are things you can make a copy of and then you can repost them in Canvas. So you would have to do that manually. As far as I know, there's not an easy button that you can click and it will just pull everything over. At this time, this learning platform doesn't necessarily automatically tie into any other learning management system. You would just want to make a copy of the document and the activity and then repost it as a lesson in Canvas, Google Classroom, Blackboard, whatever it is you're using. Okay, but this is what it is in your teacher lesson plan. Now, I know in my state, a lot of school districts are required, the teachers are required to post their lesson plans. So this is a gift. It's a total gift for those teachers. Not only does it include that lesson overview and that learning objective and those national standards that we already saw from that webpage, but it also really links the teacher out to everything they need, including the slide deck that we saw on that landing page and the student worksheets that are over here. Also, some educator resources. Now, I think this is phenomenal because when you're teaching something, I taught 5th grade math for exactly 1 year, and it was 1 year too long because 5th grade math was not the subject matter for me. I taught it just long enough to know it wasn't for me. But I learned so much teaching my very first year as an educator, teaching 5th grade math, because I had to spend a lot of time researching. Somebody thought that was funny because it's true. But I did have to spend a lot of my personal time researching the things I was teaching just tomorrow and the next day. And by doing that, I had to do a lot of time online, like finding resources to help me learn and brush up my skills so that I felt confident going to my students and saying, hey, here's what I'm going to teach you today. Well, the Intuit folks anticipated that. We all know that educators are probably wearing multiple hats. You might only teach one section of financial literacy. You might be brand new to teaching financial literacy. If that's the case, all that said, here's a list of educator resources that you can go into and help yourself and your students even to get a little bit more information. And these are all vetted. So the FTC, CFPB, I'm not even sure, Consumer Finance, there we go, consumerfinance.gov. So these are all going to be vetted and reliable sources of truth for you as a teacher to help you and your students brush up on all the things you might need. Okay. Here's our lesson plan, and these go along with those slides, the slide deck that you see. So there's a bell ringer activity, truth, lie, opinion, scams, and fraud. So it'll show you exactly what you need to do, set up your slide deck and have your bell ringer open, welcome your students to class as they as they join remotely. You can do all these things, and then these are the things you want students to share. You want students to share the lies and the truths and the opinions here that are on that activity. Beth, I don't know the answer to your question just yet. Beth asked me if the resources are available in Spanish. As of yet, they are not. I know that's a question we've gotten at several of our webinars, and I don't know where we are in the timeline. So I'll be happy to pass that info along to the Intuit for Education folks, and maybe they can put out some sort of statement or they can put out a timeline. I know that that's a big question about when these are going to be available in other languages. Yeah. All right. And you are welcome. So then you keep going down on, again, this is on your lesson plan. So you see that this ties into your slide deck. It even tells you like where in the slide deck you need to go. And then your direct instruction of 10 minutes. Here's what you'll have your students do. While you have them doing that, again, it corresponds to slides in the slide deck. There's even some videos, and they kind of give you the information about the video. Then the video outlines potential scams and tactics scammers use to target those who are 20 years old and younger, or in my parents' case, like 60 and above, and explains the warning signs for scams and frauds, right? So this is what the video is about. Of course, you can take a look at it. They've been pre-vetted, and that's always helpful to have, to have these looked at before you get to those in the classroom. All right, we're going to scroll down a little bit further because I want to show you what else is available. Another video is included. These are in the slide decks. They're already embedded on the slides, but you can see them here in the lesson plan. So when you post this for parents or for your school district to take a look at, these are included as well. And you see what questions are asked. You can see some example answers, some exemplar answers that go along with the things you would ask during the lesson. And then you see there's an independent activity. So we had a bell ringer, we had a direct teach, now we have an independent activity. And so you'll give your students the worksheet. Again, you could push this, you could take this, make a copy of it and push it through as a Google Doc through Canvas or whatever learning management system you have. Or you could adapt it into an interactive activity in your learning management system independent of the Google Doc. So you can just copy and paste the content. And of course, once you get the lesson, the answer key by requesting it, then you could also go in and mark your answers as correct. So the students see these resources. We already saw these as part of those extra resources that are provided. And then you even have some follow-up questions to ask your students at the end. Okay. All right, more direct instruction. You guys see how this works. This is that lesson plan. This is everything you need. Everything's linked. Everything's in place. And then finally at the end, there's even an exit ticket, which I think is phenomenal because you always want to have something to have the students kind of thinking on as they get done with an activity and as they start to leave the classroom. So quickly, if you have questions about the lesson plan, let me know in the chat. I'm going to also, while you guys are thinking of questions, I'm going to pull up the slides just so you get to take a look at it. Oh, Beth, great question. She asked what the grade level is for these questions. So the grade level is intended for 11th, 10th, 11th, and 12th graders, because usually financial literacy is taught in high school. So it's definitely geared towards high school students. And we know that these are like 12th grade, I do believe. So they're kind of geared towards those upper high school grades and early college years. So that's who they're really, they're limited to. Here's the slide deck. You can open that up. And of course, you have the option to file, make a copy. And Jennifer, the lessons are 60 minutes. They're set up to be 60 minutes long, I do believe, 60 minutes each. They're not necessarily 90 minutes, but again, you're going to be able to adapt these to kind of meet your own needs because you're going to have a copy of all the lesson plans and all of the slide decks. So you can extend this for 90-minute classes if that's what you have, maybe by giving students a little extra time or by incorporating maybe an extra activity. So you get a copy of these. You just have to go to File, Make a Copy, and if you want to, if you don't have a Google account, you're going to need one to make copies of these. So even if it's a free Google account, you can always make the copies and then convert those into Microsoft files if that's what you need. So you certainly can do that. And Beth, you asked about fourth grade students, fourth grade bilingual. So these materials are specific to the high school students in terms of the standards that they're based on, but there's still probably a lot of materials you're going to be able to use to inform your lessons. So you might be able to use the lesson structure, maybe the cadence of the lessons, and then maybe just use some of your own resources to tier it down to meet the needs. Um, and I do know maybe using this, the Google Docs have a translate feature built into them. So you would maybe be able to translate those into a different language that might better support your students. But yeah, the videos are probably going to be pretty helpful for your students. And some of the modules, some of the games and modules would probably be pretty helpful as well. Yeah. Robert, do we have similar lessons for adults? These are the lessons. So they're all kind of geared for those upper high school, lower college. So not necessarily like dedicated to adults specifically, but probably appropriate, especially for people who are new to financial literacy. I know I've gone through a lot of these lessons, and as you know, a 40-plus-year-old person, I've learned quite a few new things, and I'm not even embarrassed to say how much I've learned because there's so much to learn with financial literacy. Um, yeah, Joe, for sure. Joe says she runs Joe, I don't know if you're he or she, I'm so sorry, or they. Joe runs a retail workforce training program. And yes, I think these would absolutely be appropriate for anyone who is not a strong financial literacy learner, for sure. I don't think it matters if it's limited, if they're designed for high schoolers, because they're real world examples. So they're going to be focusing on things that are appropriate for anybody in the workforce, joining the workforce, new to the workforce, and just managing finances in particular. Yeah. George, that's such a good question. I would love to be able to provide you with any sort of metrics that the Intuit team has. So if you would email me directly, and it's jessica@fried.tech, I'll put it in the chat. I'll be happy to pass that along to the Intuit team. I know someone from the team couldn't be here tonight. There usually is somebody from the team, but I know there's somebody dedicated to the content of tonight's webinar, so they'll be able to at least get back to you and provide you with any sort of feedback. Yeah, any sort of pre-post test information. I think that'd be really interesting to look at. All right, these are great questions, guys. Thanks so much for being so engaged. Let's see. Every time I teach financial literacy, students and parents are there. They always say they need it too. Yeah, they absolutely do because there's so much to know. And how many of us were directly taught financial literacy? Not that many of us. At least I wasn't. I was taught some very basic stuff: how to write a check, how to deposit your check, when to file your taxes, but not even how to file your taxes. So, you know, it was pretty limited back in the day. And now with the advent of all the digital resources and all the potentials for, like we're looking at now, scams and fraud, there's just a ton. So these are free resources. And if parents want to go look at them, they're welcome to do it too. They can just sign up for an account and take a look at these free resources. In fact, they don't even have to have an account. I'll show you in a moment that you don't even need an account to access the materials. So this is what the slide deck looks like. I just wanted you to see they're very well put together. They look a lot like the one we're using tonight. And so you'll be able to make a copy of this. Again, file, make a copy, and just make a copy of the presentation. All the videos, all the resources, everything aligns to that lesson plan that we looked at already. All right. I feel like I've just about spoken all the things that need to be spoken. Too many words. Okay, you let me know in the chat if you feel good about what we've looked at so far. Y'all are so great with the chat tonight, so thanks for that. Awesome. Awesome. Lots of thumbs up. Great. Okay. And Lisa, I know you said not me, but I think you meant not me, like you weren't taught the financial literacy stuff either. Yeah. Okay, cool. Good. Perfect. Well, I'm glad you guys are enjoying what we're looking at here because I just want you to have the time to feel what I hope you walk out of here is A, you feel comfortable knowing how to get to it. B, you feel comfortable how to navigate it. And C, you feel like you have a good concept of what's available to you, which I think is always really important. Georgie raised your hand. Do you have a question you want to put in the chat? Or is that just like a me? You're giving me a thumbs up kind of thing? Yeah, Becky, I am going to show the simulations. No problem, George. Nikisha asks, how long does it take to teach the entire curriculum? The goal here is that these courses would last the duration of a semester, but we all know that, you know, we have school holidays, we have testing days, we have this, that, and the other. So it may or may not take you the whole semester, and it may take you way less than a semester, but there's so much here that I think once you get in here, you should be able to plug it into your lesson plans and you'll be able to see, especially if you see your students on an every other day cadence. If you have a 90-minute schedule, you may only see them on A days or B days. You might be able to move through this content a little faster, for instance. All right, so under this personal finance, remember we're in the guided curriculum, teacher led. You see here all the different lessons. They are supposed to take a semester. They might take less, they might take more, but I wanted to pull the taxes. Now, Annette asked if you can download these as a Microsoft. Remember what I was saying with the resources, they're provided in the Google Slides format, but you can once you download them as a Google Slides format, you can, make a copy into your Google Drive. You can then file download as PowerPoint. So you have to have your own copy of it first, but then once you have your own copy, you can file download as PowerPoint. And that you say there's a button that says download as PowerPoint. Perfect. So file download as PowerPoint. That should do it for you then. I thought you had to have your own copy, but maybe you just don't. So that's good. Let's see. I've tried to add classes. It keeps saying that waiting for IT or supervisor approval. My supervisor says she approved it, but the message hasn't gone away. Catherine, this is a great question. And unfortunately, I can't solve it for you on the webinar tonight. So if you would, you can just change the little chat box to host and panelist. And if you'll leave me your email address, what I'll do is I'll copy and paste your comment over and make sure that the folks at Intuit see it. You also have an evaluation at the end, and you can leave that comment on the evaluation in the, contact me section. Yep. Yeah, no problem. Okay, so number of lessons per topic varies. It really does. And I don't know what metric was used or what methodology was used to decide which lessons go to what. It might have just been lessons were developed based on how much content there was available. So every unit has a different number of lessons. But I did want to talk about, somebody had asked about, I think somebody has said, is there something direct to taxes? Is there something direct to QuickBooks? And so I want to talk about that because let me go back to the home page. I'm going to click up here, go back to my home page, because in every course, like I mentioned, we have the personal finance guided. And I want to just real quickly show the self-paced just so you guys can see what it looks like. We had looked at money mindset, so I'm going to click over there. Notice instead of having several lessons, there's just one. This is what it looks like. It still has the learning objectives and it still has the standards, but notice the video starts playing immediately and the resources are kind of embedded here on that lesson. So remember, this is that self-paced, the asynchronous self-paced, right? And so you can see there are writing assignments, there are reading assignments, there are video assignments. You can see right here, there's little icons that show you what they are. There's even quiz assignments, so they can take a quick quiz. This one has 3 questions they have to submit their answers to. Let's see, I just kind of make sure I cover all the things. There's even like an interactive sorting activity where they drag things over and they read something here and then they complete something down here. So it tries to keep it engaging and active, having a variety of different resources. Gerald, there isn't an order that you must follow. You can jump around the curriculum, absolutely. If you're using a learning management system beyond this, if you're taking these lessons and porting them into Canvas or Google Classroom or whatnot, you can do that in any order that you'd like. If you have students working asynchronously, you can assign these to your classes in any order that you prefer. Yeah. Now, when you say, can you jump around, you can jump around between units without completing the previous unit, if that's what you were asking. So students could click in any of these and go from any activity to any activity because there's no drip feed. So they see all of the activities all up front and they could click around at them, but they can't complete them accurately if they don't at least do the reading and the video watching per unit, Sharon, I will definitely try in just a second to show you how to set up a class. They do. So Joe asked another question. At the very end, not only is there a video and a writing assignment, but there's actually a final quiz and they take the quiz. And when they take the quiz, they get basically a way to go, a certificate of completion. Yeah, so that's at the end. So let me show you about your classes, because once you sign up as a teacher, you'll need to go to the classes to create them. So over here on the left, see, I have a little people symbol. If I click on that, that's my classes. And you'll probably not see any because you don't have any, but you'll see new class. So I'm going to create this class. Y'all can see this pop up. Can y'all let me know if you can see the pop up that says create your classroom? I just need like 1 or 2 people to give me a yes. Okay, I see a thumbs up. All right. So we'll call this, what's today? January 14th demo. Great, thanks guys. And then this semester is spring of 2025. Can you believe we're in 2025? My goodness. And then we'll click next and copy the link below and share it with your students. So I would copy this and I would give it to my students. I'd put it on the board. I'd send it through the class communicator tool. I'd post it in our online course that we already have in place, like our learning management system. And the students would go to that class. And once they join that class, I get a dashboard. So I can also go back and invite students here as well. I don't have any students, but I could invite students. And don't join my class because I don't want you to accidentally get enrolled in something that has a bunch of excess stuff. But that's how you create a class. It's very simple. You hit create class, you name it, you choose your semester. And then once you do that, you can enroll students with a code. Here's the code. And you can also get the link that they can use. Okay, so they can self-enroll. That's why it's best for older students, because younger students might have a little bit of a tech issue trying to self-enroll to your class, but you'll self-enroll them. They'll self-enroll themselves, I guess is the word, self-enroll, duh. And then once they do that, that's when you can start pushing assignments to your classes. Okay. All right. So from here, this is kind of like your dashboard to keep up with. Let me see if I have something I can actually give you some metrics on. Done this several times and I never know which one I have put in place. All right. Well, in this one, you can see that I have at least got some class assignments pushed out. I can see if I have students, it shows me their progress and it shows me my list of students. I have no live classes right now. All of mine have been archived, but you can see that you have these things to look at: your overview, like your dashboard, the progress of your students, and the students that are in your class. What I do like, I thought I might have something to share. Let me just try one more time if I can see. How do you do QB activities in the platform? Let me show you. Here we go. This is at least in a something you can take a look at. This is one of my classes that at least has one student in it. So I can see that in my overview, I have one student in progress and one of those students have a past due assignment. Here's the one assignment or the one lesson that I've deployed to my students under making decisions, making money decisions. I can click here to view progress, or I can go up here to the top and view progress. So I can see Hermione has completed 5 of 24 assignments. I can see that that person has completed 70%. This is an old class, so I can't see the responses to the quiz, but if they had just completed it or had completed it this semester, I would be able to show that here. And I can see that they are in progress. So let me see, 5 of 25. That lets me see that this student has completed these activities, but not started these activities. I also can see that this student jumped around and went back all the way to the end and completed money mindset. And that's it, but they haven't done all of the other items. So I just get a very basic view. This is not going to take away, especially for those of you, you still have a very strong role as the educator in this situation. This helps you to keep up with their accountability, but in terms of assigning grades and looking at their feedback, you'll have to do that manually because there's not like an AI grader or any sort of thing like that. The quizzes grade themselves, and then all the open-ended stuff you can take a look at when students are completing that in real time. Can students only see what you assign, or can they see more? That is a great question, Tabitha, and I'm actually not entirely sure the answer to that. My thinking is they can see the platform and they can look at lessons. I feel pretty confident saying that, but I don't think I've ever in real life tested it. So it's a great question. Now, Sharon, you asked, and somebody else asked this too, the QB activities. So let me talk about the simulations because we want to talk about those tonight. Embedded in the lessons are the simulations, and then also and independently of the lessons, you can find the same simulations. So I'll show you those in just a second. Let me just show you how you can add lessons for students. Let me go back over to my first period overview screen. And if I want to add a lesson here, I go back to my little home page. Once I've got my class established and I've sent my students the invite, now when I go to the self-paced lessons, I can send it to my students this way. I can assign the lesson, and I can select which classes I want to assign it to, when it starts, so I'll just use today, and when it's due. Let's have it due in 2 days and confirm. So once that's been assigned, it's now assigned to all the students who are in that class. Okay, and that's how you assign the lesson. If you want to pick just some of the activities, you also have the option to pick which activities you want to assign. So it even lets you choose, do the introduction, do the why it matters, and maybe do the congratulations section so you can see the rest of it. So you have the option to pick and choose even bits and pieces to send asynchronously. This is when it goes really well, even though they're not apples to apples. This is when this complements that guided instruction. Dr. Deborah, you can access the recording of this after the webinar is over, and it will remain on demand. So anybody else who wants to come back and watch it will be able to register for it like it's brand new, but when they register, they'll see the recording link instead. Yeah, these are all good questions. All right, if you assign a self-paced course and want to change to a guided course, can you delete the self-paced course for the students? I've never tried to do that. So let's see if we can. I've assigned this one to my students. Let me go to my demo. Let me go to the class where I've assigned it. Is it this one? I did it, and it looks like I can unassign it. Check that out. So yes, you can do that. All right. So the question about simulations has come up quite a few times, and I want you guys to be able to get that information tonight. So like I mentioned, just in passing, those simulations are embedded in lessons. So they're not just standalone simulations, although they can be used standalone, but they are embedded in the lesson that aligns to them. So I think that's really powerful. So not only are students going to lessons to learn, all the facts and figures and read and hear and watch, they're also there to do. And so I just want to make sure that we talk about that because it's really handy to know where those lessons are. So let me go up here and check out simulations. So it's here on the home page, and it's also, like I mentioned, they're embedded in the courses. So like if I go to the taxes section and let's see, completing a 1040, we are going to see a simulation available for how to complete their 1040. So it's a simulation available. So I can go through the lesson plan and get to it. I can find it in the slide deck, but more importantly, it's also available on the homepage as a standalone simulation. So I think these are really cool to look at. So if I go to the homepage, I'm just going to click one more time, go to simulations. Instead of digging through my lessons, I can just go straight to the simulation. And then you can see these are what's available. Right now, we have practice filing your taxes. We also have all of these QuickBooks, like a sales tax calculator, managing finances, controlling finances. The Credit Karma ones are essential to our students understanding things like using debt calculators, using a student debt calculator, understanding their credit reports. All these things are available, and the simulation is available here. So there's a debt calculator. So you don't have to have an account. Students don't have to have a QuickBooks account or a Credit Karma account or anything like that. They just have to go into the simulation and it stands alone. Looks just like this. So this is a loan calculator. So they could go through and it asks them to do some things, some little simulations, and it shows the monthly payment. So over here on the right are the to-dos, the asks, and over here is where they're going to fill it in. They don't have to log into Credit Karma. They don't have to log into TurboTax. They just have to open the simulation. They follow the prompt on the right. They do the activity in the main middle part of the page here. And when they're done, they find out whether or not they were successful. So they get feedback all the way through the program. So I think there's on this one, it looks like there's eight pages or 8 screens. They're going to look at 8 prompts, and they're going to find out as they hit submit every time whether or not they were accurate, whether or not they were successful. So all of that built right into the credits, the simulators that are already available. All right. So there are also calculators. Those calculators are just like the simulators. The simulators are more like literal simulations of real world, but the calculators, like I mentioned, there's even a student loan calculator. So I have a 17-year-old. We are looking at colleges and what we want to do about college and how are we going to finance college and all that good stuff. And, do we want to go to the junior college and just pay cash? Do we want to go to the bigger college and pay some cash and take some student loans? Or how do we want to handle that? So this has been ideal for us to have those conversations because it's already set up for us. And it helps to really drive home the fact that taking on a ton of student debt may or may not be ideal for that student, depending on what they want to do, right? And so these standalone calculators exist on that homepage under calculators, simulations calculators. Now, Sharon, you asked, how do you select the simulations and add to the class? You don't have to add them to the class. You just have to add the lesson because they're already embedded in the appropriate lesson. If you want students to get to these calculators or simulators for other activities besides the ones that are embedded in the lessons, you would just have to direct students to get to those. So there's not necessarily a way to push those out to the class, not from here anyway, but they are already embedded in the appropriate lessons designed for the students to get the most out of it. Yeah, good question. But they're web-based, so you could just get the link to them. So like this one, that's the compound interest calculator. So if you wanted to link that in your Canvas account or your Google Classroom and have them go directly to it, you could, since there's not a place to push it necessarily within this platform directly to their lesson. These are great questions. You guys are like an advanced audience tonight. All right, we only have a few minutes left, and I want to make sure we cover everything that we had decided to cover today. So in these lessons, like we've already looked at so many of the resources that are available. Intuit's done their research. They want to make sure that their stuff is relevant to the students, is engaging with the students. You know, it's still financial literacy information at the end of the day. So how can we make it the most engaging for students? So they've done things like create videos that were TikTok style. So they're the vertical style. They're younger, people in the video. There's more real world scenarios that are more available for student. They're more directed at students versus something like myself, that we're not going to be doing, like a living will calculator for an 18-year-old, right? That's not what they're looking at. They're looking at student loans. They're looking at getting their first apartment. They're looking at, how are they going to finance their first car, things like that. So the activities they're directed at that audience. More importantly, like we've already looked at, in every lesson, there are quizzes, there are Quizlets. They've even done things like have Kahoots that have been created, Quizlets they can use. The students can go and like practice their vocabulary. These things are all built into the lessons for students to leverage and access. We looked at the simulations and we looked at the calculators. I just wanted to quickly touch base on the games. Sorry about that. On the site, there also are games, and there are quite a few games. These are some like smaller, I would call them smaller games because they can be kind of completed in a less amount of time. And they're like the Bummer, the Build Your Stacks, the Shady Sam, the Influenced. These, okay, George has seen some of these. Yeah, so these are in partnership with the Next Gen Personal Finance. They are kind of, great anchor activities, great intro activities. Yeah, they're fantastic. So leverage these when you want. And then also Prosperity Quest is owned and created by Intuit, and it is a more experiential game. It's not something I would recommend for like a 15-minute class period, but if you want to come back to our deeper dive webinar, we'll talk more about it. It's a fantastic resource, and it has like some scenario-based stuff where students are doing things like building wealth, paying their bills. It's pretty cool. It's a kind of like a role-playing game. It's pretty interesting. So definitely check it out when you have some time. It's a challenge for sure. All right, we've talked about so many things, so let's just double check that we get everything covered. All right, I told you and I promised you there was some state standards alignments included. So every lesson, when you open a lesson plan, immediately you're going to see those national standards. Like not this one, it doesn't have any aligned to it, but it's okay. This is like an intro activity. But you're also going to see state standard alignment, and that's kind of a new feature here on the website. We're real pleased with that. So I'm going to scroll down the page because I want you guys to see the state standards are right here on the left. Sorry about that. Let me zoom in so you guys can see. On the left, right here on my left sidebar, it looks like a little certificate with a check mark. These are our state standards. Now, our team, I was so lucky to be able to work on this project in partnership with Intuit. So we actually have a team of 5 educators, in addition to the experts at Intuit, who went through state standards and aligned the content to the state standards. So you have real educators looking at this, trying to match all those stems and verbs to make sure that the students are accomplishing the right things on each of the lessons. But you can see, like, for instance, the Texas standards. Here are those economic standards. Here are the lessons that are included. Like we mentioned, not every state has all the same standards, and these are economic standards, so they're not necessarily addressed, but the personal financial literacy ones are included and addressed. And Gregory, California, the standards for California, if I understand, are being reviewed and renewed or changed, so they're not necessarily they have not been released yet. If I remember accurately, it has to do with the timing of these release. So we don't want to release things if they're being re-established at the state level. I think that was the conversation I remember. I could be wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure we've looked at California state standards before. There's quite a few of them. And George, you're totally right. It is such a help for teachers to be able to look them up. And so, like I mentioned, we're working on this as an active process. They're definitely going through and auditing these as state standards change. I know Florida just voted at the beginning of the 2023-2024 school year, voted to make this mandatory at the beginning of 2023 school year. So there was a change and a shift there. So I know Florida was like one of the first states that we did their standards. So it's just something that's organically changing. And so just know that Intuit's working on getting the state standards included. And if yours aren't included yet, they will be soon. When we wrote the course, we had to map to the standards. Oh, okay. So there are definitely standards, like you have to already have mapped them. I see. Well, every state has got something for them. I don't know if we've got them published yet. They have to be vetted, they have to be checked, all that good stuff has to happen. Great questions, but at least you know now where to find them. Again, on that first page of the Intuit platform, once you've gotten logged in, you can see them over here on the left, your state standards, right? So every lesson that can be aligned to the national standards has been, and then every state who has standards have been listed and they've been aligned to lessons. So it's kind of working both ways. You can go to a lesson and see what national standards are already included, and then you can also go to your state standards and see which lessons apply. Kind of working both ways. Yeah. All right, guys. Now that you've seen all of the resources that are available, you've seen the lessons, both the guided and the self-paced. You've seen the teacher resources like the lesson plans. You've seen the slide decks that are available. You've seen the simulations that are available for students to use independently. They don't have to have a license. They don't have to be logged into QuickBooks or to Credit Karma or to any of the programs. You've seen the calculators that are pre-made, like the student loan calculator and other things like that. Again, those can all be used independently. You've seen that there are games available, even the Prosperity Quest, which is an Intuit in-house game that they've developed. And you see that all of this is available for free. So now that you've seen that, what are some challenges you feel like it might solve for you or your students? You can put that in the chat. Catherine, I got your private comment. I'm going to make sure I email that. George, that's such a great question. George says, are you planning on bringing veteran users together at some time to share their best practices? And I know for sure that early on when this platform first launched, our team was part of the conversations about what are going to be some of the best ways to get this in front of educators and to get it developed. I know that part of the conversation that the folks at Intuit had was they would like to have, an early adopters group or people who've been using it get together and have that. There is a community that I'll take you guys to in a moment so that you can go and join that community and offer your words of wisdom to folks. But I'm sure if you keep your eyeballs on the emails that come through, that is definitely a conversation that's been had about having veteran users together to share best practice for sure. There is no cost to you or your students to join this platform. All of the simulations and calculators are free to use for your students, their parents, yourself, absolutely free to use. Yeah. Good, Joe. I'm glad it's going to save you some time. That's really the most important is that it saves teachers time on developing high quality resources, right? High quality, things that are going to be beneficial to our students in the long term. Find it hard to find lessons that I can continue to practice the skills. Yeah, definitely there's just more resources out here for you and they can inspire even more activities. And in a moment when we look at that educator community, there might be people you can connect with and maybe share resources if you want to really make the most of what you got. So in that, saying that, if you guys want to join the educator community, I highly recommend it. It's a growing community because it's still so new. I'm going to put there's a QR code you can scan on your device if you have it, but you also can click on the link there that I just put in the chat for you. And I'm going to take this right here, put it right here so you guys can also see it. There we go. So this educator community that exists is really starting to grow. You can join it if you'd like and take you right into it. And what's super nice is that this is really, of course, is going to make me get a code. I don't even know if I have my phone with me. Well, you guys will be able to see when you go to it that it is full, absolutely full of educators who have a perspective that maybe, you know, has more experience teaching with these tools than you might. And then once you get in there, you'll see that you can join conversations. If you join our deeper dive webinar that we're going to have next month, we'll take a look at that community and how you can kind of really leverage the most out of it. I know when we do webinars like this, sometimes the recordings are posted in that community. So it's a great place to go and see, if there's a webinar you missed or didn't know about, you can go in there and take a look at it. I also know there are videos of other educators kind of talking about how they've used it and different ideas for ways to use it. So definitely a great value in joining that community group. If you want to get a certificate of attendance, the way to do it is going to be to fill out the survey. So let me put the survey in the chat for you because you want to get any sort of credit or you'll get a certificate of attendance. You can turn that into your school district and they can give you the credit. That's going to be the most direct way. So it's a SurveyMonkey link. I just put that in the chat at the bottom. surveymonkey.com/r/I4EPD. You can also scan that QR code. And finally, if you liked what we talked about today and you think, gosh, I want somebody to come out to my school district during the summer and do a PD day, or I'm a coordinator and I have 5 or 6 or 10 or 15 teachers and I want them to see this in person. I want them to practice with the tools. I want them to take some time to learn how to use it. There are available opportunities for those sorts of things. So my best recommendation would be for you to talk to the folks at Intuit by signing up to get more information from them. Somebody will reach out and talk to you, and there may be an opportunity for them to come out. If not, there's definitely an opportunity for them to provide you with support to get your school district started. So that's that last one there. I'll only put the link in the chat for that in case you don't have a QR scanner to scan with. So signing up to let somebody know you're interested in getting more involved with the Intuit for Education platform. And then there are all 3 of those. If you wanted to take a quick screenshot or something and get back to it later, that's available for you. Catherine, like I mentioned, Catherine Burns, I got your question. So I'm going to make sure I turn that over. I didn't want to forget to tell you that. All right, guys, listen, thank you so much for joining. I'm giving you back. You hate when people say, I'm giving you the gift of time, but you're going to get 4 minutes back this evening. So those of you in the East Coast, you're going to get 4 very crucial minutes to run back and make it back to your TV right for the last bit of whatever sitcom we missed this evening. But I appreciate you being here. I am going to look at the chat and take any of the requests for support, and I will pass those along to the Intuit for Education people. In the meantime, I'll stick around for just a few more minutes to answer questions. But guys, thanks so much, and be on the lookout for next month's webinar for the deeper dive. So we'll take a look at some of the other resources. All right, guys, thanks so much. I'm so glad you had a good experience, and we will see you later. Bye, everybody.